Welcome to this next video in which we are covering the most common functions used by growth teams or product teams. So this video we're going to look into the VLOOKUP function, and we're going to start cleaning up our data set by getting a lot of empty cells filled with the right data. So let's start with the interval column. So the interval column, what we'd like to do there is look at the plan and find out whether this is actually a monthly plan or an annual plan. So the way we can do that is match this plan ID by this plan ID table. So in this table we have the same IDs as from the subscriptions table, but we have two columns, the interval and the price column. So we want to match this ID with the correct interval. The way to do that is to do a vertical lookup. So if we just do VLOOKUP and then hit tab, we want to search for a key. So this is our search key. And then we want to define the range that we're searching on. So we go into the plans and we say column A to C. And what I always like to do when doing this is to freeze that range. So by hitting Fn and then F4, you add these dollar signs, which means that those columns won't change. Those rows won't change when you drag this function to the right, for instance. Then we hit comma. And then we want to do an index. So the index means which column do we want to return. So in our case, the interval column, we want to return the second column. And then do we want to have an exact lookup or a close match? So in this case, we want to have an exact lookup. So 0, enter, and then it finds this is a yearly plan. So if we then Control C and then select this all the way down, it will find year and monthly intervals. So that's great. But if you noticed these arrows at the bottom, that's obviously not great. So quick tip for figuring out what to do with these arrows. What I like to do is simply use an if function. So if this column is empty, then don't do anything. Or a quicker way is to use if error. So you can say if error, then the value that we actually want if there's no error, and if there's an error, what to do then. So if you don't want to do anything, you can just add a close it off, and then it will work as well. So if we then copy paste that new function down, these arrows will disappear, but you can still see if I hover over anything, there is a function in there. So we want to do the same thing with the column 8 with the price. So if you just copy paste that to the right, one thing that changed is D2. So what we actually wanted to do is also freeze C2. But we don't want to freeze on the number, we only want to freeze on the column, so not on the row. So by doing that, we had to hit Fn and then F4 again. But this time we don't hit it once, but 3 times. So in that case, C2 is frozen. If we then copy paste it to the right, you see you get the same output. But in this case, we don't want to look up the second column. What we actually want to do is look up the third column, because if we go into the plans, the third column is actually price. So that's the one we want to have. So if we change this to 3, and Google actually has now this nice functionality which says suggested autofill. So we want to accept that. And then automatically found out, okay, for this particular plan, the price is 50. And then if we scroll all the way down, it sees, okay, it filled in all the way to the bottom. It didn't fill all the way to the bottom of the sheet. So I like to do that actually. So if I add more data in here, then those cells are actually covered. So with the if error function, that's another problem. So that's the VLOOKUP function. If you have any questions on that, let me know. It's also explained in the cheat sheet. So if you Google for or you search for VLOOKUP, you should find it. Let's see if we can find it. VLOOKUP. Oh, it's actually not in there. So let me add that for you as well, so that you can have a link to the Google website for more information. But if you can't find it, then just let me know. Happy to help out with any questions and any comments. So good luck using that, and I'll see you in the next video.